Hello! I'm back. It's Bionicle Fan 444, and today we have a very special review. Today's review is Tahu. He's the last Bionicle star, so this is the big moment that we've been waiting for. I'm happy that this review almost lined up with Bionicle Day. I was tuning in a little this weekend. It looked like there was some fun highlights. And, I just think it's a fitting time to review such an iconic Bionicle character. In the lore, as many of you know, Tahu is a very, very important character. He's pretty much like the first Toa. I'm sure that's actually inaccurate, in chronological stuff, but set-wise, this guy is the OG. He was like the primary flagship Toa Mata from 2001. And he is a very fitting, obvious choice, of course, to have recreated as a Bionicle star. As we can probably assume, the instruction booklet and the canister are pretty old news at this point. The golden piece, however, it is the golden mask. And it's probably the best golden piece of all six, of course. Before we jump into the figure, I want to share something with y'all. It's not really any surprise that the Bionicle stars have been scoring pretty low overall. I don't think I really gave any more than around a 6 or so. For the most part, I think they're pretty anticlimactic, very small sets. They're definitely not Bionicle's best work by any means. But there is a soft spot that I have for them. I just kind of think it's special that when a toy line or a theme ends, that they give it a send-off, right? I know a lot of Lego themes probably just fizzled out and that was it. So I think the fact that Lego announced the end of Bionicle and then made a whole other year that was very fan service, just resolution vibes. That's actually impressive. A lot of people, including myself at the time, were probably thinking, like I just said, these sets kind of suck, whatever, mad that Bionicle's ending. But in retrospect, I think that was a pretty nice move of them to make this whole thing as a proper farewell to the beloved line. Because, I was devastated, dude. As a 9-year-old, late 2008 or so, I got that, corporate email probably announcing Bionicle ended. I don't actually remember how I found out the news. I'm assuming it was something like that. Anyways, I wasn't just oh no, I'll have to think of a new Christmas set. I spiraled. I was fucked up. I was like, Mom, where's the bristle board? Hold up. I went, got the bristle board, got my Sharpies, and I went to town. I said, thank you. No. I wrote the Bionicle logo, full black outline, and then tried to recreate the gradient of, brown to gold with Sharpies. So nothing blended, obviously. It was just, kind of 3 stripes of color. And then I said something like, thank you so much for creating this beloved franchise. It will, I'll never be the same. I was 10. And then I underneath that said, thank you, Greg Farshty. Because he was I read all the little novels, right? And that's who I accredited the Bionicle story to, at least at the time. I know there was other authors involved, whatever, who gives a fuck. And I just made this typographic piece of art and fucking hung it on my wall next to the Nature Clear shampoo bottles or whatever the fuck they were called that I collected as a kid because, they were similar to the Bionicle canisters. That's not a hint at all that I was going to be into Bionicle. So anyways, I can't bash the stars too much. They've given us a lot. They were important. They were impactful. God bless them, to be honest. Anyways, let's get back to the figure. Alright, here he is. The first thing that you'll notice about Tahu is that his colors are just iconically and near perfectly recreated. He is bright as hell. He is fiery. There's not an ounce of gray on him. Well, actually, there's this very out of place silver shield guard, which sucks ass. Other than that piece, this guy is perfect. In fact, we can just remove it, and he looks so much better. Anyways, the feet, the legs, the chest, the hands, the arms, all very similar to what we've seen across the other stars. So we'll skip to some points of interest. One is that he has the same arm and chest pieces as the golden ones that were included in 3 of the other 5 sets. That's because obviously what we have been building towards is decking out Tahu in golden armor. So the chest and arms, I like them. It's nice to revisit these pieces. A little color detail that I also like about them is that they did the orange on the red chest and the reds on the orange arms. I think that's a nice touch. They could have just done all the same color, but, you know, they all stand out nicely on their respective body parts that they're on. Again, just as Tahu himself is so iconic, the mask is possibly even more iconic. I believe it's called the How, and it's like the protection mask. I think it protects you from all the physical damage you can take. So anyways, he's pretty fucking sick. A very important mask ability to have, and visually it's very, very similar to the original. The other highlight, of course, is the flame sword. This was a new piece, I think, for some 2009 sets, so it's cool that they stuck it in here to make his flame even bigger. I also want to point out the comparison between the star and the original this time around. I think that the star, is one of the lesser downgrades from the original. Like, I think the difference between the star and the original, because all 6 of them are downgrades, let's be real, but the difference between these two isn't that big. Like, size-wise, they're almost identical. Piece number-wise, the original's obviously got a heads up, but they're not that different from each other. Like I said, the masks are surprisingly identical. They did a good job at doing that. The color scheme and where it's used is very accurate. And to be honest, the star might actually have an upgrade on the flame sword because, you know, original Tahu, well, that's just a lovely nostalgic piece. Like, I don't know, dude. It's smaller. You want a big fire. So that kind of wins in that category. But all that, whoops. The last thing we obviously have to check out is the gold armor on Tahu. So let's get this boring red and orange armor that we all hate off of him. And there you have it, the golden Bionicle, the last Bionicle ever to be created, at least in Gen 1. This is it in all his glory. I think it's kind of interesting that they replaced the 2 different color selections of arm and chest with all the gold. I think it's fine because gold obviously sticks out on both the red and orange regardless, but a tiny part of me does miss the fact that that nice attention to detail with the color contrast was kind of not disregarded, but, you know, not as needed anymore, but it's okay. We get rid of the much inferior silver kind of hilt with the gold one, so everything just is very warm and matches well. You get the iconic Tahu mask in gold, which is just lovely as well. And lastly, which is kind of interesting, is the shield is not a replacement piece, but just an addition. He is one-handing that sword in the original, and in golden form, he gets to wield 2 objects now. The shield is just a total add-on. It's solid, so there's literally nothing to compare it against, but I think it's a nice addition overall. It fills him out a little bit more. And guys, that's it. That's the last Bionicle star, and therefore, it's the end of this channel. Psych! I am so excited to get into 2009. I think it's one of my favorite years of Bionicle, and just in general, going more and more backwards in time, seeing all of the fully fleshed out years of this toy line, it's going to be so, so fun. Like I said, The stars starting to get a little nostalgic at the end for me, but I'm happy to be done with them. Let's not forget to give this little guy a rating though. I'm giving him a 6.9. I think undeniably he is the best star. It's kind of what the whole point of the year was building towards. It was for him, you know, with the golden armor and stuff. He's a cool dude. I don't think there's really any debate. If your favorite was Gresh, phew. Anyways, I did genuinely want to just say thank you for tuning in to these last few videos. It's actually been really fun, you know. I was ready for every single video to get 2 views and go into the void, and it would still have been self-fulfilling for me and fun to make these videos and have a hobby again. But the fact that, you know, y'all are watching it somewhere, thank you. It's been a blast. So, yeah, see you in 2009. Let's just fucking keep it rolling.